It's 10 past the hour. Muslim leaders in London are critical of a reported plan by British transportation officials to screen airline passengers according to ethnic or religious backgrounds. The plan, reported by the Times newspaper, would allow airport security staff to single out people who were behaving strangely, have unusual travel plans, or appeared to be of a certain ethnicity or faith. The paper says transportation officials believe such a plan would help identify terrorists. Muslim leaders say it would further alienate Muslims who would be found guilty of traveling while Asian. Arsalan Iftikhar is the National Legal Director for the Council on American Islamic Relations. He joins us again from our Washington Bureau. Thanks for joining us, Arsalan.
My pleasure, anytime.
Forget for a moment right or wrong. Let's talk logistics here. There are a lot of people out there who look Arab or Muslim. I've been mistaken myself. Is this a realistic approach?
Not at all. If you look at law enforcement since the beginning of time, especially here in the 20th century, the FBI all the way down to local and state law enforcement officials have always said that racial profiling is not an effective law enforcement tool. It's not based on any suspicion of criminal wrongdoing. It's just logistically bad, in addition to being completely antithetical to American democratic ideals.
Well, let's talk. You brought up America, and in this country, ethnic communities are keenly aware of the realities of racial profiling. Why do you consider this policy such a slippery slope?
Well, obviously, we see it as a continuation or a millennial version, if you will, of the driving while black racial profiling adage, which became more prevalent in the 1980s. Now, of course, the adage has become flying while brown. Again, there is no suspicion of any sort of criminal activity, but people are being based solely on their racial or religious demographic parameters, and that's something that is completely antithetical to everything that we hold dear as Americans.
You have to admit, though, the rules of terrorism have changed considerably since Timothy McVeigh. American terrorists never considered, or at least we don't know of, killing themselves for the cause. Shouldn't that fact alone raise the stakes against Islamic radicals who are all but too happy to seek martyrdom?
I don't think so, Michelle. I think, like you pointed out, your viewers need to know that, again, the greatest terrorist attack to ever occur on American soil before 9/11 was on April 19th, 1995, when Timothy McVeigh, a white male, bombed the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. Now, after Oklahoma City, you didn't hear anyone say that we should go out and profile every blonde-haired white guy out there. It's just bad law enforcement. It's bad politically, and in many cases, it could be deemed unconstitutional.
Should Muslims, even American Muslims, be doing anything proactively at the airport to prevent themselves from being tagged?
Well, American Muslims, since 9/11, the growing population of 7 million strong, has actually been proactive in reaching out to their communities in general. We believe that the racial profiling debate is only on the table currently because politicians, seek to profit from this. We want average Americans to know that your average American Muslim neighbors, co-workers, and friends are law-abiding, peaceful citizens. They have done nothing wrong, just as, 140,000 Japanese Americans didn't do anything wrong after Pearl Harbor, but were still interned in internment camps for World War II. This is just another chapter in the civil rights history of America, and we must prevail.
Is the big fear that authorities won't play fair in the criminal justice system, that prosecutors will label any Arab or Muslim accused of a crime a terrorist just to further their case?
Well, we saw, directly after 9/11, Attorney General John Ashcroft summarily rounded up over 2,000 Muslim, Arab, and South Asian males in this legal dragnet after 9/11, which literally resulted in 0 terrorism convictions. So, unfortunately for many American Muslims, they view themselves as guilty until proven innocent, when we all know that the American ideal is the presumption of innocence, where we are innocent until we are proven guilty.
The bottom line, though, is that people are afraid. So what can Americans or American Muslims or anyone really do to distill that fear?
Well, obviously, the American Muslim community has taken a very active role since 9/11 in helping to distance ourselves from the acts of a few. We've reached out to law enforcement officials and vice versa in helping to promote dialogue and discourse and maintaining the strong social fabric of America. I just think that, in this time where terrorists seek to startle us as a nation, we must stand firm to our American ideals, which will help bring, hopefully, peace and justice across the world.
And really, will this do anything to hinder those people who are seeking to board a plane, to commit some act of terrorism? Do you believe it will really change the mind or the mindset of a person?
Not at all. I mean, if you look at racial profiling, I mean, if people are only looking for people who are olive-skinned or perceived to be Muslim or Arab, first of all, that's a completely subjective decision made by TSA screeners. I mean, this is just not an effective law enforcement technique. We need to focus more on intelligence. As the 9/11 Commission told us repeatedly, we shouldn't just base everything on conjecture and speculation, but base it on cold, hard facts.
Last week, 3 men were arrested in Michigan for supporting terrorism, accused of supporting terrorism after they purchased over 1,000 cell phones. Was this a legitimate arrest, or are we talking racial profiling here?
Well, I think that we're talking about the best of racial profiling, or actually the worst. As we learned today, all terrorism charges were dropped against these gentlemen, but for 3 days again, the American Muslim community has been cast in a guilty light. Unfortunately, I fear that we live in a society now where if these were 3 white guys with a bunch of cell phones, that it wouldn't have even made a blip on anyone's radar.
That they might have been just scam artists.
Or just businessmen.
Okay, Arsalan Iftikhar, National Legal Director for the Council on American Islamic Relations. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. Anytime.